All right, welcome to the Rich CELENZA Show. WTF for you talking about? I'm actually driving from Short Hills, Jersey still to Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Then I fly out tomorrow to back to Florida. Then I jump on a plane Saturday and head to Southern Cal. I dig it over there. I used to live in California, San Diego area, so pretty familiar with it, obviously. But the podcast stuff, so I'm being told constantly I should start telling crazy stories about my past, but I actually got a crazy story. It's not that long ago traveling, and I love going to Salt Lake City, Utah, not because I'm an outdoors guy. I just like the people. I don't know, it's nuts. And I'm not even a Mormon, but I like Mormons. It's crazy, I know. I love every religion. I don't care what religion you are, to be honest with you. When I was younger, I went to a Catholic high school. My mother was obsessed with religion, to say the least. She even worked for the archdiocese, and my crazy father was a nightclub owner. So talk about a bipolar life. But my mother even used to send me to religious camps, but I had to study different religions. At least in my school, I had to study a different religion every year. My cousin runs a huge Jehovah's Witness, one of the biggest in the state of Florida, so I did him one year. And then I had neighbors. They were twins, these two dudes, but he had a daughter. I love that guy. And he was a Mormon, and he would tell me, I had to do a whole paper and a thing on Mormons, which I found quite interesting, even though none of it made sense to me with the whole thing. But anyways, very nice people. I love going to Utah, so I flew into Utah, and I love Italian restaurants. So I first there's a consignment shop if you ever go to Utah. It's not too far on the outskirts, but it's all vintage, like legit vintage, like from the 50s and 60s. They got knockoff shit in there too. I ain't gonna bullshit, but it's near Utah, downtown Utah. So I usually go there first. So I flew in. I had time. I went there, picked up some bags. They had a bunch of like used Prada bags and stuff. They were knockoffs, obviously, and they were used. So I just got them. I brought like a few bags for my kids just to beat up my mother, and so I grabbed them. Then I shot to this Italian restaurant I go to. I can't remember the names. I'm in too many restaurant names. And here's the deal. I'm sorry if the audio isn't perfect because I'm going to be driving doing some of these podcasts because that's when I have time. So sorry if the audio isn't perfect. But anyway, so I fly in. I go to the Italian restaurant for dinner. I think I had one Peroni. I never drink more than one drink usually because I never want to get caught drinking and driving. But my girlfriend, her brother-in-law, got me on this one Italian beer kick because I only really like Italian beer, and he told me it would help my joints. So I try to do one beer when I can, and I don't know if it's a placebo effect. It's been helping my joints for the last couple of years. It's been amazing. I'm not going to lie. So I drank a bunch of water on the airplane, I should say, obviously. Then I got there. I drank a Peroni and some water, Italian water, whatever, and I left there. So I'm cruising back. And I'm not buzzed or anything, but I got to go to my hotel. And it was kind of earlier. I wanted to see that film, the new film, the Something Artist with James Franco. I can't remember things sometimes. So James Franco and his brother were in a new movie, and I want to see that movie. And so I'm driving, and I'm like, should I go to the movie first, check in the hotel? So I'm like, let me just see. So I'm driving, and out of a fluke, there's a movie theater not far from the hotel. So I said, let me pull in the movie theater. Now I realize I have to take a piss real bad. I'm like, oh shit, all the water kicked in, the beer. And I'm like, let me hold it. I think I'll be okay for a minute. Let me see what time the movie theater, maybe I'll just go to the movie first and then go to the hotel instead of doing the whole process. So I pull in there, I got to pee, and I'm thinking, let me check the movie time. So I'm looking at the movie times. I'm like, oh, damn it, I missed it. Then it just all of a sudden kicks in. You know when you just feel like, I only got a few minutes here before I piss in my pants. I can't go in the theater, and then I look, and there's a bunch of traffic, and there's no way for me to even get out and turn left. So I'm going to have to go all the way around. So I'm like, forget that shit. So I pull in very quickly, but it was all under construction, so I should have known better. But I'm like, there's no one around behind this movie theater. I go all the way in the back around, I jump out. I start pissing. I can't hold it. I don't care. So I'm taking a leak. All of a sudden, I see the lights shoot on, and a squad car comes spinning around, going nuts around the corner. So I said, oh, shit. And I said, you know what? I'm going to finish this piss. I don't care. So I finish peeing. He pulls out, jumps out, looking at me. And I got in the car then. I stuck my hands out. He's like, get in the car. He got in the car. I stuck my hands out. Okay. So I always do that. And here's a tidbit or something that'll help you. If you ever get pulled over, stick your hand, like, put the car obviously in park, but put your hands out the window. They're going to walk up to you and ask you, usually, why are your hands outside? Because they're going to think you have a firearm, which you may or may not. If you do, tell them, obviously. If you don't, I always say, I just want to make sure you understand that, you're safe. And I usually say there's nobody else in the car, either, officer. And you're like, okay, where'd you learn that? And sometimes I'll be like, California. I think that's where I picked that up. Or my buddy also is the chief of police in Chicago. I think he once told me to do that because cops like that. And then I think he might, or I don't remember where I learned that, but I think he was the one who taught me that. The cop will usually say, thank you, license, registration. In this case, he says, what were you doing? He goes, I'm looking down. It doesn't look like you were. Because he could tell I was taking a piss, but he couldn't to a certain point, I think. So, he kind of knew, but he couldn't, it wasn't like I said, by the time he reached me, because I jumped out so fast, he's looking down, he goes, does it look like he spilled water here? I says, no, I almost pissed him. I told him straight out, I almost pissed in my pants. Then he wanted to know where my accent was from. I said, I'm from Chicago, I live in Florida. So he's like, why are you here? I explained, for work. I said, I literally landed on a plane, I went and ate, I drank a lot. I explained my whole situation. So he's like, he's looking at me, and he keeps looking at me, and he's like, all right, get out of the car. I get out of the car, and I'm in a 3-piece suit. And it's actually I could tell he's a Mormon dude. You could just tell. And he's looking at me. I'm literally just looking at him. He's like, all right, I want you to follow my pen. So now he thinks I'm drunk. So I'm following his pen, with my eyes. And he's like, you got problems with your eyes? I said, not at all. I'm actually an athlete. He's like, you got problems with hand-eye coordination too? He starts asking all these questions. I'm like, absolutely not. He's like, okay, I don't think you're drunk. And I says, well, I'm not drunk. And he goes, well, only people usually who do this are drunk or they had too much alcohol or liquor. I said, that's not true. But whatever. I said, I just told you I had too much water, dude. I flew from basically Florida all the way here. Then I stopped, and then I had to eat and drink more liquids. And then it all just kind of kicked in at once. I said, I like to drink a lot of water. When I travel, it doesn't let me get sick. So I'm sitting there, and he goes, you know what, I'm going to tell you something. And I was like, all right, now what's he going to tell me? He goes, I can arrest you right now. I'm like, oh, okay. He's like, one is for, public display or indecent exposure. I think that's what it's called. And I said, oh, okay. I said, I got you. I said, I didn't by no means wanted to do that to expose myself to anybody. I think that's kind of obvious. That's why I went behind here in a construction site. And he goes, well, that's where you screwed up. You went on private property now. And I says, okay. He's like, you're not even allowed here, so you're trespassing. So it's public indecency, I think he said, and you're trespassing. And I said, oh, I got you. And then he said, yeah. Not only that, I could put you on our list in Utah if you get caught with public, whatever, you go on the pedophile type list or some list with being a sexual predator of some sort. I'm not going to say it's the level of that. But he's like, then I don't think I'm allowed in Utah if I'm not from there. And I do work in Utah. And I'm like, dude, are we really going to get this nuts? Right? And he's like, yeah, I'm kind of, I'm trying to figure this out, what to do with you. I'm like, if you want to give me a ticket, then give me a ticket. But you think you're going to fucking charge me with all this? I mean, I didn't say the F-bomb. I'm like, you're going to charge me with all this because I didn't want to basically urinate in my pants? It's like, it's 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night or whatever it is at this point, 9 o'clock. No one's around us at all. And I think he actually was on the fence about having me do the breathalyzer, which I would have done. I didn't have any problem doing that, but he didn't bring it up. And then finally, after this whole thing, he's like, you know what? Just get out of here. He's like, don't ever do this again. I was like, I pulled out of there thinking, just for taking a leak on the side of the road behind a construction site, I literally almost I had like 3 charges against me. And he says I would have been in jail at least for like 24 hours or something like that. So just be aware, especially, not just pissing on the side of the road, whatever. You piss, but obviously be aware where you're pissing. If you do got to take a leak, maybe bring a cup. But the other thing is, according to him, Utah has certain types of laws. I didn't know this. Like, I know we all have laws in different cities and states. I'm not going to say that. Different things like recently I heard Santa Barbara's one of my favorite places, but if you get caught with a straw, you could get a $250 fine and you could be arrested. I mean, that's how fucked up this country's getting, but that's a whole nother thing. But just be very careful, man, when you travel. Certain things, and I was really blown away by that. And so be very aware of that. So I dodged a bullet on that one. So anyways, I don't know if that's worth the story, but it's just kind of like a funny thing that happened to me. And when I tell people this, their mouth hits the floor. But that I kind of like that Utah, like they don't mess around with that type of stuff. That's why I believe it's so clean. They don't go for any bullshit like that, which I kind of like. And then at the same time, you don't realize when you're in certain places like how strict they really are regarding that. Because he had me out, and I think he was getting ready to literally handcuff me. And for some reason, I think he mentioned my clothes. He says, I could tell by the way you dress, you take care of yourself, you work out, you're not. And I said, I'm not what you think. I says, I don't know who you think I am. This was just bad timing, being at the wrong place at the wrong time. But be very aware, I tell people, because I'm doing all these YouTube videos when I'm traveling, and I'm putting them up, and I want to show people different things on how to save money, do things affordably, regarding hotels, show them different great restaurants I go to, all these different things regarding that, where to shop, good malls, consignment shops, consignment stores, vintage stores, trying to help people save money and do things while vacationing, and even if it's for work related. But there's certain things I can't get into, like be aware of as far as on the other end, and one should be actually obviously speeding, because cops are brutal a lot of times on the road, and especially in California, I'm always getting pulled over at checkpoints. Again, if you are traveling a lot, just be really aware of your surroundings and don't underestimate anything or anyone. I talk about that actually in my Mastering Self-Confidence program, especially when it comes to women with traveling. Or even you meet up with a couple dudes at a bar and you're like, hey, let's go to another bar, and then you get jumped, walk down the street. A lot of times we're very aware when we're sober, right? But I think sometimes when people travel, and I see this all the time at conventions and stuff, people just get drunk and they make bad decisions, and it just fucks their life up. I've had a couple colleagues get DUIs in other cities and other states. They got to fly back there. That's brutal. Then they get, they don't end up following up. They can get a warrant out for their arrest. And I think a lot of alcohol and drugs, kind of, when people travel or they get away from their home, they want to escape, which I understand. Just do it where you're in control a little more. If you're going to get smashed, go to a hotel that's got a bar, or Uber or Lyft, man. You see all those posters everywhere. It's like $12,000 or $12. And everybody makes mistakes, I get it. But just be aware, man, when you travel, because this type of shit, can happen to you or anybody. It's happening to me. So, and I even had some issues lately in Canada. I was just going there on a trip, and coming back in the United States, let me get some water here. Coming back, out of nowhere, because I have global entry, he said, were you ever arrested? And I said, no. I was lying. They said, step aside. I said, all right. They grabbed me, took me aside, questioned me to death. Finally, I said yes. And they're like, oh, okay. How many times? I said numerous. Fuck you out from me. I don't remember. How long ago? It was a long time ago. In the 90s, I said. I had a bunch. They're like, why'd you lie? I said, because. Why would I tell the truth? I said, because I didn't want to, get into this whole thing, which I'm into now with you. I'd rather try to dodge it at first. I very seldom ever lie. I told them, but I'm not going to lie to you. I could care less at this point. But I just wanted to just get through security to catch my plane. Why would I sit here and talk about all my, arrests? But if you are traveling and you have been arrested and they ask you, I would definitely recommend saying yes. Most likely, though, they're going to pull you aside anyways, I realized. And question you to death, what was it? And then they want to know some backstory, what you're doing there, and all these different things. Me, I was fortunate. I said, dude, I'm a filmmaker. I also travel all over the country doing virtual tours. I do different things with, I write books. I do different things regarding that. I travel all over the place. And I am positive I'm on their radar because when they look up how many flights I take, I think I flew I don't know how much I flew, but I hit over 400 cities, I think, in a year and a half. So I definitely think they want to question me regarding that. But if they ask you questions, be as truthful as possible, especially if you're going in and out of, another country. Because if they were holding me up for a while. I think I was in there 45 minutes to an hour. They finally let me go, but they are a pain in the ass. So just be aware of that too, man, when traveling. Yeah, and I did a podcast for rental cars. I've done 2 different ones. And here's something, I'm not going to get into the whole car rental angle right now, but here's something when you travel in snow that this one dude I learned, I think it was in Jersey. If you're traveling in snow, try to get a hammer. I know you're thinking I'm crazy. Not to protect yourself or anything like that, which you can. Actually, let me tell that crazy story. So I flew into Jersey in the middle of a snowstorm. And luckily, we landed. It was bad. And I was driving to my hotel. And I had to go somewhere first. I had to go somewhere for work, but they canceled it. They called me and said, did you make it? Let's just cancel it. I said, I already took off and landed. I'm here. They're like, oh, holy shit. I caught an earlier flight, but then the way I was coming in, I missed part of the storm. I was just very fortunate. I was like the last flight to go out. So I go to the hotel. And, I barely make it. It's a, God, you could barely see in front of you. So I go in the hotel. I'm like, I know when I come out, I'm fucked. So, of course, it snows all night. Obviously, the East Coast. I come out. My car's, you could barely see my car. And then, obviously, they're plowing the hotel. So, it literally blanketed my entire car. I was hitting the alarm trying to figure out which car was mine because I had to leave then in the morning to go get something to eat because they were having, I didn't like what they had for breakfast at this hotel, actually. I just was aggravated. I didn't want to be there any longer. I had to get there. I already spent the whole day there. And the restaurant I just wasn't down with, to be honest with you. So I just wanted to get out of there for a while. Even maybe go to Starbucks. But I go out my car. I couldn't even see it. So the guys, the managers, and the hotel people are all coming out helping people shovel, getting their cars out. So they use a shovel. We get my car out or my car uncovered, and then they shovel. But there's all ice. It rained too. So now there's ice. No one can even back out. Everyone's tires are spinning. So I don't know what to do. They're trying to take the shovels. They even had the plastic style shovels. So those just kept bending, right? They didn't have the metal style to chip it away. So a Latino dude, like a Mexican, short little guy, comes out and comes out with a hammer, like a goddamn animal. And I says, what the hell's he doing? He gets on his hands and knees and starts slamming the concrete with the backside of the hammer and pulling the ice. Hardcore. Banging it and pulling it and banging it. He cleared the whole back of my tires. Like in a matter of a minute, maybe less. And he's like, you're all set. And I was like, what the He goes, where are you from? I said, I'm from Florida. He goes, oh, you don't know anything about snow. I says, no, I'm actually from Chicago. I know a lot about snow, but I've never thought of this. He's like, yeah, grab a hammer. He's like, I carry a hammer everywhere I go, in my car or wherever I'm at, and I use it obviously to do this. And I was like, that's genius. So if you live in obviously an area where there's a lot of snow, or even when you're traveling, because sometimes we get caught on ice. And I talk about that when you rent rental cars. A lot of times, be aware, because just because you're in a bigger car, a lot of people think they get a bigger car. A lot of times it comes down to the tires. Make sure you get snow tires, man. Especially when I go to Alaska and Canada, it's all about the tires. They're going to probably charge you $15 extra a day. They even have regular cars with the metal threads, but man, the tires is what, if it's real high, the snow, you're going to be screwed regardless to a certain point. But if you want to get a bigger car, obviously, a truck, whatever the hell you want to get, just make sure you get the right tires. And man, when you rent a rental car in the winter, make sure they have a scraper. People blow it off. You come out of your hotel, you come out of anywhere, a restaurant, you're covered in snow, you've got nothing. So, anyways, I'm going to wrap it up there. I have tons of different stories, but those two are just something I thought would be kind of interesting to talk about. All right, thanks for listening to the Rich CELENZA Show. WTF are you talking about? All right, take care.